Great. Welcome. We're so honored to be here. We want to thank the committee for asking us to share how we do things in early intervention in Summit County. We serve both the Summit and Wasatch counties, and today we're going to talk to you about how we determine our parents' priorities and then align AAC strategies with those parent priorities. My name is Henson. I'm a speech-language pathologist. This is my colleague, Missy Hilton. She's a speech-language pathologist. And our director is with us, Swan. She's also one of our occupational therapists. I just want to ask really quick, do we have any other Part C providers in the room? No, just us. So everybody's Part B. All right. Do we have anybody in the room that is not a speech pathologist? Okay, OT?
Awesome.
OT. All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Lori. So we're going to start our presentation with this quote from Janice Light. Communication is the essence of human life, yet 4 million people in the United States and 97 million worldwide live with these complex communication needs and don't have a voice. We put the Communication Bill of Rights on the screen because in Summit County, for the families that we serve, we have an active initiative where we have a yearly goal to get AAC into the hands of the families and the children that we serve as much as we can. If you're not familiar with the Communication Bill of Rights, obviously you can just quickly Google it, but this serves as the foundation for how we think of communication in our families. Access to communication is a fundamental human right. I think we can all be on board with that. Without communication, and we all know this in this room, but it bears repeating, you cannot participate fully in society if you don't have a means to communicate. You cannot advocate for yourself if you don't have a way to communicate with somebody. You can't talk to your intervention providers and change up how you want to do things. The Communication Bill of Rights reminds us that you have a right to effective communication regardless of your ability. Being able to communicate promotes dignity and respect. And then we also serve a very diverse population, and we remind ourselves to be culturally and linguistically appropriate when we are communicating. What we hope you'll learn from us today is how we in early intervention identify family priorities from the IFSP, how we write our outcomes or goals and objectives with the family's input and support based on what their priorities are, how we incorporate family-friendly AAC strategies into our child's daily routine, and then a big part of what we do is we make sure we're always collaborating with our team members to ensure appropriate access to AAC. We know AAC isn't just about communication, it's about the access to communication. And as a broad statement, we use the word family loosely. It's anybody who provides care for our children or can make decisions on their behalf. For social and emotional development, we are mandated by the state to make sure that we are assessing a child's social and emotional development. You can't have communication without another human being. It's all about social interaction. And social and emotional development is important for the people we serve because it helps them experience, manage, and express the full range of both positive and, for the toddler group, lots of negative emotions. It helps develop close, satisfying relationships with other children and adults, and it helps provide the foundation for them when we know what their social development capabilities are. It helps us help them learn to actively explore the environment and learn. Again, we're talking about early intervention here. When somebody is referred to our program, the first thing we do is we administer a comprehensive developmental evaluation, regardless of the child's referral reason. We administer the BDI-3, which looks at all developmental domains: gross motor, fine motor, cognitive, social, emotional, expressive, receptive language, the whole 9 yards. Once we have the results of that and a child qualifies, we create the IFSP. And how we do that is we do a family-directed assessment where we spend a lot of time getting to know our families. We, in our program, tend to rely on the Robin McWilliam family-directed assessment. The next thing we do is determine a parent's concerns and how we talk about concerns, because sometimes parents aren't sure what we're looking for. So we say, what keeps you up at night? What are you worried about? And when you ask a question like that, they'll sometimes reveal things to you that aren't just about, I want my child to speak more. We get a better understanding of the families and what they're really thinking about. From their concerns, we develop priorities, which is, okay, what do you want to work in? You're in early intervention now. How do you see us working together? And then we assess their resources and find out where we can fill gaps if they don't have community. Maybe they've just moved to the area. And so we keep in touch with them that way. And from all of that, we develop our IFSP outcomes and strategies. I'm going to turn it over to Jackie to talk about the next part.
All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the concerns and priorities. So as Missy was saying, after we complete those developmental assessments, we do a family-directed assessment. And that family-directed assessment is based on information that's provided to us by the family. And it's pretty much a 1-hour discussion with the family on what's going on in the family. After that is completed, the service coordinator completes the concerns and priorities. As Missy's already discussed, the concerns we look at are what the parents worried about, and then the priorities are what kind of goals do you want to work on in the next 6 months. So we put all that together for the family. Okay, next, I want to talk a little bit about the child and family interaction circle, which is referring to the visual representation often that we are drawn to by this circular diagram. As we all know, the child and family are in the middle, and on the outsides are all the different professionals that work with the child and family. The service coordinator is a professional in our program that helps the families access their early intervention services from the time that they get the referral all the way to the transition. They also help the family understand their parent rights and procedural safeguards. They also look at their assessment needs. They create the IFSP, they coordinate services, monitor services, and they advocate for the family all the way through transition. This is part under Part C of IDEA. All you Part B people out there, you probably have another name of the person that runs the meeting if it's the teacher. In our program, we have one designated person that runs that, and that's the service coordinator. The nurse in our program looks at the health and well-being of the child. Our nurse in our program also does a lot of care coordination with our pediatrician group. We're in a medical home model where we communicate back and forth with them. She also talks to DCFS or other agencies that we need to be able to interact with. Our occupational therapist is me. I look at the child's play and their development and how that impacts them as they're growing between 0 and 3. And we're all getting them all ready to come to you guys to school. So all these little early skills that we're building on basically are also then getting them ready for school age. At their IFSP, when they're turning 2, our team, when we're meeting, discusses what school readiness skills they need prior to them going to school. We want them to be as prepared as possible. We also have USDB, and they look at the vision and hearing. USDB for PIP and hearing, assess vision and hearing. The PT in our program will assess their physical development and look at any type of equipment needs. The occupational therapist and the physical therapist will work in conjunction with each other. And then our speech therapists, Missy and Lori, will look at all the different kind of communication strategies and what social interaction skills kids need at that time. We start really early with turn taking, imitation, sign language, whatever it takes at that point to get the child to communicate is what we do. Other important team members that we use for looking with AAC, we use Julia Pierce and Jay Wheeler. At UCAT, we look at Shriners Hospital, what adaptations they might have for the child, wheelchairs, that type of thing. We use AAC company reps, the Toby Dynabox, Star. Again, the medical home model, we use our pediatricians, daycare providers, and extended family members. Okay, the next part, has anyone heard about the eco map? Do you guys know what an eco map is? Anybody? Okay. So this is kind of newer to us that we've been putting into our program. And this is where we look at all of the areas in the social network that the child and family are involved with, looking at strengths, resources, gaps in services, how we can better serve the child in the community. So in the middle, you can see we have the family unit, and then the outside are, we interview them and ask them, what are your stressors? Do you have a really good connection with your family? How about at work? Is that stressful? And we draw different lines. So the dark line is a close connection, dashed is weak, stressful, maybe we'll do that in red, and then weak is a dotted line. And during that process, we look at that to see if that is going to affect the way we're writing our goals and how we're going to interact with the family. Okay. Next is collaboration. We're really big on collaborating, like all of you are too. The things that we look at is we look at the way we do a lot of play, how the child is able to play with other people. We build rapport with the family so that the family feels really comfortable when we're coming into their home, asking them to go to the library and other places. Sometimes that's difficult for them. They want to just stay in their home and not leave. And we're really big advocates on getting them involved in community activities. We observe their communication and social skills and where we think they need to be and where they think they need to be moving. And then we team together. So OT, PT, speech, our whole team gets together and we discuss where we feel like this child needs to be going and what we can all do together. If Missy's using a device during her session as an OT, I'm going to use the same device. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about some of my pictures that we have up here. The first picture is a little boy that is using, he's turning on Christmas tree lights with a power link and switch, and he's positioned in a tumble form chair. The second picture is a little room which was designed, and we consulted with Jay Wheeler over here from UCAT. He designed this little room for the child to be able to start reaching, beginning to understand spaces in his environment, and looking at early object concepts. And the third slide shows me in the little room with our cute little guy using a switch, and we had a lamp in there that he was able to activate the switch to turn the lamp on. But more importantly, this was a huge priority for the family to have other play options that the child would be able to play with his two siblings. So his two siblings jump in under the little room and are able to access and play with him in an environment that is conducive for him. Okay, move on to Lori.
Thank you, Jackie. Let's move on to some case studies. We've taken some examples from our IFSP of family priorities and then the objectives, strategies, and goals that they wrote with us. We changed the names to protect privacy. Let's talk about this first priority. This is Andrea. Andrea wants Angel to move his lower extremities better for his age. She wants him to learn how to read. She wants to learn how to read his states for readiness for eating, sleeping, and play. She wants Angel to be exposed to spoken English, spoken Spanish, and all of her languages, which are American Sign Language, Venezuelan Sign Language, and International Sign Language. This is an infant who's a CODA, a child of a deaf adult. His mother is deaf, and he lives in a home with 3 deaf adults who speak Venezuelan Sign Language and 3 hearing children. So Andrea helped us write her goal. The goal that she wants is for the adults in the home, for her son Angel to be exposed to ASL with his family and spoken English from the children in the home and visiting therapists. Therapists will use spoken English to model and demonstrate sounds to Angel and imitate the sounds he's making back to them. Therapists will use a combination of oral, ASL oral, or ASL oral, ASL, or only oral sounds. This goal is ongoing and will be altered to meet Angel's level of spoken communicative development. The AAC strategy that we're implementing for this family is sign language. The reason why we wrote the goal as oral, ASL oral, or vice versa is in the deaf and hard of hearing population and also with CODAs, the main evidence-based strategy that we use is called the sandwich method, where you sign, say, or say, sign, say. Can be a little confusing. So let's go to number 2. This is Trudy and Cole. Trudy wants Cole to be able to remain calm while in a store, scribble, and use more words than gestures. The goal that Trudy helped us write is Cole will use 5 exclamatory words at his siblings' sporting events. This goal is met when he can imitate 10 words for 5 events in a row. The AAC strategies that we put into place are a quick talker or a recordable button. I think what's significant about this goal is it's not written around making requests. It's written around social interaction and helping him be a more involved member in his siblings' lives and attend community events. Let's go to number 3. Tracy and Woofy. Tracy wants Woofy to use a spoon at mealtimes. Tracy wants Woofy to be able to communicate words instead of pointing or using vowel sounds. Here's the goal that Tracy helped us write. Woofy will use his Go Talk 9+ to make animal noises associated with his favorite book while reading after lunchtime so that he can have fun talking about his book with Tracy. We know this goal is met when Woofy can push the correct animal noise associated with an animal in his book 3 times. So the AAC strategy that we implemented for Woofy is a Go Talk 9+. Again, I'd like for you to take note that we wrote this goal around book reading and play. Let's go to the next one. Chantel would like for Mason to crawl, have interest in eating 1 food item, and say 1 word. We update the social emotional evaluation every 6 months. So 6 months later, when it was updated, her priorities were standing to play, using a device to make requests, and eating. Here's the goal she helped us write. Mason will use his hand to activate a button in his Quick Talker to let Mom know he would like to roughhouse and be tickled. This goal will be met when Mason uses the Quick Talker to request again 5 times in 1 day for 2 weeks in a row. Mason was using a single message device switch before we implemented the Quick Talker. Mom really wanted him to make requests, and so how we brought the social emotional development piece to it is to do it with roughhousing and around play. Number 5, Rachel would like for George to stop pulling his sister's hair. She wants him to acknowledge her when she calls his name, call her mama, and use more sign language. Here's the goal that Rachel helped us write. George will use his choice board for eat, drink by pointing or other acceptable indicator so that his mom knows what he wants when he's at the kitchen door. We know this goal is met when he uses it 3 times a day for 2 weeks in a row. What's significant about this is there is a gate at the kitchen door. This family has a lot of young children, and that gate was there to keep them safe during cooking, and George would frequently stand there and have tantrums, and his family didn't know what was going on. George, the AAC strategy that we used was a paper 2-choice board. George took to it really quickly. About a month later, we implemented an iPad with lamp. He took to that quickly. About 2 months after that, he was using his iPad to tell his mom, I'm ready to go to school and pick up my sister. As of today, George speaks and talks So this is a great example of how we took a child who was tantruming and very frustrated with no words to now he's talking in school and doing quite well. I don't know if he's still pulling his sister's hair or not. Probably so. Okay, here you go.
All right, thanks, Lori. So when we think about introducing assistive technology or alternative and augmentative communication modes, in speech therapy, we are usually the first people who start talking about this topic with families who, especially in early intervention, their lives can be a whirlwind. They don't know what's going on. They've never heard of this mysterious thing called AAC. So the things that we may talk about with families, but as we certainly consider as professionals, are the current speech language abilities of the children. These are little ones, and so we get a lot of that information initially from the comprehensive evaluation that we do, or the most recent evaluation that we've just administered. We also have to look at evolving communication needs. We have a kiddo on our caseload right now who's using an eye gaze device, but whose motor skills are, with Jackie's help, improving. And we're thinking this kid may be able to use some type of touch device in the future. So we always have our eye on like what the next thing is. When we think about long versus short-term use, George was a great example of how we used LAMP and picture boards and other stopgap measures to get this kid to talking. So he was a short-term kiddo. And then an access method, how is the child going to access this device? Jackie's going to talk about that in depth in a moment here. You have to think about language selection, whether you want it to be something that can grow in time or you just need something for now. In our program, we use Touch Chat, TD Snap, Pro the Quota Go, Cough Drop, and LAMP. You have to think about the family support too. A lot of times it's not the only child in the family. So we are very, we make sure we're careful in how we introduce, and we make sure that we're there to the family so they don't just say, ugh, this is too much, I don't want to do it. Durability and portability, and then vocabulary and message organization, which is really more of something that when they get to preschool, we're going to get to that because we're a little simpler in early intervention. And now Jackie's going to talk about her occupational therapy considerations.
Great. Okay. So
It's
okay. Okay, so first, OTs always have so much to say, don't we? I mean, we always are looking at everything when we're looking at all these considerations. So I want to just say our goal, go back to that one. Yeah. Yeah. So the big goal for us is we want to have full potential for any of our kids. Whatever they want to do, our goal is to get them there. If it's that, they're going to be sliding down the slide like this little girl sliding down with me at our picnic. Whatever it is, we're going to get that kid to that goal. And we always include our parents. Okay, so now I want to get into some of our OT skills. Okay, so fine motor skills. So we look at the precise use of small muscle movements. We look at how they grasp, how they hold, how they manipulate in their hands. So some ideas that we have used with AAC devices, we use the Quick Talker. We also use bracelets. Which we all have on today, which Lori will be talking about in a little bit. We use song choice boards. We use lanyards, different things where they can put things on while they're walking around. So those are kinds of the things that we look at for low-tech devices too for us. The next one I want to talk a little bit about is motor planning, which is the ability for them to be able to plan and perform a new activity. And Missy talked a little bit about LAMP. That is one of the devices that we use. We also use recordable buttons. For strength and tone, it's the ability to look at their muscle strength, excuse me, and how they contract their muscles and what they need to do to be able to hit a button. At that point, we'll look at where does the switch need to be located. We might contact Jay Wheeler at UCAT and say, hey, we've got a kid that has, different things. Hand might not be working as well. We look at maybe the right side. What do you think? And we might consult with some people on that, looking at how the child's strength and tone are. We'll also look at their postural stability. And when looking at their posture, what kind of equipment do they need? Do they need to be in a more supported chair? Can we have them sit more on the floor? What do they need to be able to give them the best option for using a device? We look at their visual perceptual skills. This is what they're able to perceive with their eyes. A really great example that we have of this is what kind of colors we put on the AAC device. Do we do red and black? Do we do blue and white? Like, what kind of colors do we use when we're looking at visual discrimination? And then just their spatial awareness. Where they're looking with their eyes, where they're with their hands. Some of our kids have involuntary movements, and we have to be able to place those in different spots. We also are looking at their visual motor skills, how they're able to use their eyes, and how they're able to isolate with their finger on what they're pointing at. And then lastly, we look at bilateral coordination and how they're able to use both sides of their body, if that's their upper and lower extremities, if it's their right versus their left side. And one example of this would be using a dual switch, where they could use a switch with one hand, maybe a joystick with their other hand. So we would start looking at these things in our early intervention program prior to them going to school. Okay, so next we're going to talk a little bit about some of our kids in our program. This is a great picture here. This is one of our little girls with her cute little sister. They're twin sisters. And she is accessing the Tobii Dynavox with her sister. As you can see, she's positioned in a gait trainer, but isn't it pretty cool that she's able to play with her sister in a way that she's upright and that her sister's coming over to play. And then this next picture is looking at direct selection with her eyes, that she's able to look on what she's doing. This great picture is our Rep Bradley from Tobii Dynavox doing a trial with one of our families. You can see that she's positioned in the tumble form chair, and you can see that she's really into what he's got right in front of her, and she's really focused. Again, her skill level is direct selection with her eyes. This little guy was super tired and has some major medical problems, and his mom put him on the floor so that he was able to use his device on the floor to tell her what she wanted by using direct selection with his eyes. Obviously, these were OTs and PTs were like, you got to get this kid upright. We need to have him like in his wheelchair or walker or something. But this was the choice that the mom made that day. And you can see she's also propped him up so that he has more access to be able to see the device better. This little girl is in a gait trainer. It was her first day of preschool. And her parents were super excited for her to be able to go to the preschool classroom, and she is using direct selection on an iPad. But just look at the thrill that she has, that she's able to do something to be able to communicate with everybody in the class. This little girl is also making choices, and she's using the direct selection with her hand on an iPad. And we have a little video to share with you. This is direct selection with hand, finger, and foot. So let's watch the video.
Rojo. Este.
So as you can see, the mom is... It's okay. The mom is using the iPad. And you see his feet? He loves using his feet to also be able to make the selection. Okay. Are we doing video? Yeah. Okay, this little guy is with his mom, and his mom is awesome. So the mom, this is not a therapist, so they are using the iPad. They are using a paper core board. They're using a core board which has a blue figurine on that. And the mom is working on using whatever the child wants to do, if he's using the iPad, if he's using the board, whatever he wants to do. And there's also a book that she's able to look at the pictures of the book to help him be able to communicate. Okay. Great. Back to Lori.
Thanks, Jackie. Let's talk a little bit about some of the myths and misconceptions that we hear in early intervention, and I am going to assume that you probably hear the same ones. This is the one that we hear most often. If all they have to do is push a button, why would they talk? So we all know the research behind that. And the next slide shows an example. I think we're having a little bit of audio problem with the videos, but this is a little guy who had 2 words, mom, dad, and ta-da! He absolutely lost it for Santa. Santa's his favorite person in the entire world. His mom has had the recordable button. That morning before I got there, she recorded Santa. I wish you could hear it, but you can pretend he's saying, "Dada, dada, dada, dada," and it's really cute. He learned a new word, and it's a word that was really meaningful to him. We also hear, "My child is too young to learn this." In the first picture, we have an example of a 15-month-old who is using a picture board to tell Santa what she wants for Christmas. And in the second picture, it's another video. I will tell you what's being said. This is the family's first experience with an eye gaze trial device. We're very proud of this mom. She picked up on how to model very quickly. So let's watch it. So she's asking her, let's play. What do you want to play with? And the little girl says she wants to play. What do you want to play with? Her mallet. She wanted to play with her mallet. That was one of the recorded things, and I guess she didn't really mean that because off to the floor it went. Another thing we hear is, "Isn't it complicated? How are we going to learn this?" So like you, we start out as simple as we can. This is a family who is enjoying playing with a Switch toy with Olaf. And in the video, you'll see his sister coming into the scene to play with him. He's laughing. He loves Olaf. She's activating the switch. He can slap it with his hand. Oh, and she adjusts his head. We all know that if we can get the family more involved, we get really great results. We know that from Romsky et al. In 2011, interventions that included caregivers increased the caregivers' perceptions of their success while decreasing their perceptions of their child's impaired language development. Okay, we have an example, another video. I will tell you what's going on. This parent's priority was for her child to be caught up with his communication development before he reached preschool. In July, this child had 10 words. What's significant about this video to us is, if you notice, mom is kind of controlling the iPad right now. They're talking about the selections. She's asking him, "What do you want?" He's saying, "Cookie." She's helping him repair an icon choice, getting him back to the food, pointing out things. There's the cookie. No, he wants gummy bears. Yeah, gummy bears are what he wants. Nope, he doesn't want what mom wants him to have. Gummy bears. He wants gummy bears. And then he is going to take over. So he took over. The really cool thing about this particular family is in July, the child had 10 words. This video was filmed probably in August, September. The child was evaluated for special ed preschool in December, and he did not qualify for speech services. Yay. We use multiple modes of communication in Summit County. We use what we have available to us. Also, we can beg, like everyone, I think. Linda Burkhart and Gail Porter at the ISE conference in Portugal of 2014 said, "We all use multiple modes to communicate. Family and friends will continue to be the critical influence on the child's communication and language development." Let's talk about the different modes that we use in our program. We have an annual Christmas party every year. We also have an annual summer picnic. At this year's Christmas party, we had this sign right as parents came and entered into our party room. We're trying to let parents realize that there are other modes of communication. We're trying to break down some of the barriers of fear families have about that. So we're trying to make it accessible at all of our group events. The child could use their voice, use ASL or manual signs. We had photos for them to make a paper board. We use recordable buttons or one of our quick talkers. Another mode we use is we gather lanyards from the other employees at our health department, and we print these little communication boards off for our children to take when they go trick-or-treating, so they can just wear it right over their costume, and then it can become an interactive device between the parent and the child and the person who's giving them the candy. Every family gets a song choice board. Our children are very familiar with making choices of what song they want to sing. These two boys are no exception. They're both telling our Miss Rachel Dupe what song they want her to sing. Switch toys. We had this set up at our Christmas party. Parents were able to stop and learn about switch toys, play with Olaf, or turn our Christmas lights on and off. We have a lot of recordable buttons in our office. This little girl actually talks quite well, but she was scared of Santa. She didn't want to go near him, and Mom really wanted the family photo. So Mom was pretty smart, and they recorded everything she wanted for Christmas. She took it over to Santa. They talked about it, and the little girl was no longer afraid, and the mom got the family picture. We use quick talkers. What's significant about this photo is the mom has several children, and every morning she would take the older children to school, and this child would go into Pop-Pop's room, sit in the recliner, and watch television. Every morning he was having a tantrum because Pop-Pop couldn't figure out what he wanted to watch. So we took in a quick talker with his favorite shows. We taught Mom how to quickly change the overlays and print her own as his tastes change, and how to record it. We also use the quick talkers at our Christmas party. We have the video is the same little boy you saw earlier using a quick talker to tell Santa he wants Paw Patrol toys. And then we have another child who's standing using the quick talker to tell Santa what he wants to. Okay, we made picture communication boards with our families. We printed several photos of all of the favorite toddler toys at Christmas time. As families came in, we had everything readily available, so Missy or I could help make the picture boards, or the families could help them make them too. We use our communication bracelets. We made these. They're, what? Are you happy? Aw, you want to do it again? You want to talk to all these people again? Okay. And that makes you happy to talk to the people? She's pointing to drink. Missy, I told you drinks are after our talk. Okay, all of our therapists wear these bracelets. Yes? You want something. What do you want? A cookie. You did such a good job. You're going to get a cookie when this is over. Take a picture of the QR code. That's how we made them. Very affordable to make, about 200. It's less than $100. This is a video of one of our occupational therapists doing feeding therapy with a child. I wish you could hear what's going on in this video. It's pretty cute. He really doesn't want to eat, and he keeps pointing at that face, and she's saying, I know you're not happy, but let's try this food. Okay, we also, we use eye gaze devices. We utilize Bradley. He comes and helps us with our trials. You saw this family earlier. This child is 27 months old. This is a few minutes after the first video you saw. The mom is talking to her about toys and playing, and she looks at wheel. So mom pulls out the wheel, and now they're playing with the wheel. This is a picture that you saw a few minutes ago. What really touched us and is significant about this particular photo is mom didn't know about eye gaze devices, and she was a little bit hesitant. When we brought out Bradley and trialed his eye gaze, that is his personal one that he has now, she started crying, and she said, I wanted more ways to play with him. This is going to give me more ways to play with my child. And it touched all of us. We're going to end with a quote from everyone's favorite, Mr. Rogers. I'm convinced that when we help our children find healthy ways of dealing with their feelings, ways that don't hurt them or anyone else, we're helping to make our world a safer, better place. How much time do we have for questions? We have 15 minutes for questions or comments. Does anybody have any questions for us? Yes. The question is, how do we teach modeling to families for AAC? That's a challenge. But I think what we do is we talk about it all the time. I say modeling is saying something for your child from their perspective without the pressure to imitate it. And then I model that for them several times. And then I also mess up, and I'll say, oh man, I messed up. Oh, okay, let's try that again. And they have to be reminded a lot. Some families pick it up, like the ones you saw in the video, really quickly, and some don't. Did that answer your question appropriately? Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you so much for your attention, for listening to us today. As our gift to you for coming, we have bracelets up here. Please feel free to take one. If we run out, grab one of our business cards, and we'll make sure we get one in the mail to you, okay? Thank you.